Terry, thank you for doing this interview. As a member of the African American community,
Mhm.
one of the things that can and does show itself, different kinds of dementia have a greater risk pattern in certain communities. Lewy body dementia, some of the Alzheimer's pattern, vascular dementia. Um, how do you feel like your care and support for you and your husband, at the start anyway, might have been impacted, if any, if at all, being from the African American community?
I think initially we or I was ignored. My husband really wasn't aware of what was going on, or why was I complaining about his behavior. Um, for me, I just felt like I wasn't being heard. And he was really good at convincing the doctors, "Oh, don't worry about it. She's just having a moment." It's like, no, this is not a moment. At that time, I did not understand the terminology to use to say, hey, this is what's going on with him. I can remember one time going to a doctor's appointment that he told me about, but they wouldn't let me in to see the doctor. He went in by himself. And I was like, that just defeats the whole
This isn't
purpose
gonna
here.
help.
Yeah. And I just remember telling the nurse, and tears just started down my eyes. And it's like, something is wrong with him. I don't know what it is, but something is wrong. And all she could tell me is that it's going to be okay. And I'm like, that's not enough.
I don't feel like it's gonna be okay
Yeah.
because 'cause I'm not being heard.
I knew
Mhm.
deep within something was not
Something is
right.
not right.
It's not right.
Were there people in the family or around you who were supporting and saying, "Yeah, I think it's really different. I think we need to get it checked out," or was it, you're making a mountain out of a molehill, it's not
Right.
that."
I think some of our really close friends
Mhm,
picked up on some behaviors, getting lost
mhm,
when we'd been to their houses 100 times and he just got totally lost.
yeah,
Um, I think our daughter and my son-in-law realized something's not quite right.
yeah.
He would just do really awkward things at the most awkward times.
Mhm.
We were sitting down for Thanksgiving dinner at one point, and he jumped up. I've got to go to the store. And we're like, we're getting ready to eat. And
What are you talking
he
about?
jumped up, he
Yeah,
went to the store, and he got lost. He got lost. And we had been there many times
yeah.
before, but he got lost.
So if you think about that experience of, really realizing, "Wow, he's getting up going to the store during," like, that's not right.
Right.
There were other people there besides just you, your
Hmm.
daughter-in-law, your daughter and your son-in-law,
Right.
um, and you discovered he has, and then you did find out, yes,
Right.
indeed, you got a lumbar puncture, you found
Hmm.
out, yes, indeed, drew spinal fluid,
Right.
he absolutely has Alzheimer's.
Hmm.
Um, coming out about that to the family, because he was not able at that point
Right. To
to
articulate
really
it. Hmm.
say, "This is what I want us to do. This is how I want it handled." That wasn't where he was.
Right.
He wasn't able to do that anymore.
Hmm.
How was that for you to actually make that announcement in the in the family
Right.
even?
It was scary at first,
Mhm.
but I knew I had some learning to do. And in order to speak on what was taking place, I had to educate myself.
Mhm.
And so I worked very closely with our memory care unit, just asking questions, attending different seminars and meetings and things like that,
Mm.
going online and just joining different, organizations and what have you to have discussions about,
So really get
Alzheimer's.
yourself in a
Yes,
solid space
yes,
so that you had good information
yes.
to work from,
Hmm.
because coming back to the family, coming back to the community
Yeah.
didn't feel like it
It
was gonna
was
be easy.
right. It was scary.
Yeah.
Um, I've always had a good relationship with, my people say in-laws, they're kind of like my
Uh-huh.
brothers and sisters,
Yeah.
because
You were family.
yeah,
You
that's where we
became
are.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think initially the conversation was with our daughter, and she's very methodical. Okay, mama, what do we do next? What do we do next? That sort of thing.
How are we gonna do this?
Right. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
What's the plan? What's the plan? And so we talked about it, and we talked about the things that I've learned so far. And she said, okay, she did attend a couple of the caregiver meetings with me
Oh.
in the evenings after work.
Mhm.
And we talked about those meetings and what was taking place, and still feeling a little like a outsider because I wasn't where those individuals
Mhm.
were.
Mhm.
And so I wasn't quite sure why they were so upset. It was
Yeah.
like, that's not happening to me, you
No.
know? Um, but still just continuing to go and talk, and just go to these meetings and just learning and asking questions and taking notes and rereading when I get
Mhm.
home, and comparing the behavior to what I learned. It gave me more ammunition, if you will, when it was
Mhm.
time for me to sit down and talk to the family that this is what was going on. So there were a lot of questions. And did you get a second opinion? How do you know? And they were very valid questions,
Right.
very
But
valid.
they weren't really surprises at that point
Right.
because you'd done your
I had
homework a
done the
little bit.
homework.
And at some point you had talked about that actually they've there's a genetic code in the family, it runs in the family, and you
Yes.
knew nothing before then.
I don't think he even knew anything about
Right.
it. Um,
Hmm.
and it was just very shocking because, and I went, I don't remember that behavior. It was like, well, I didn't even know what to look for. So how would
Uh-huh,
I
yeah,
know the
right.
behavior? Um,
How many folks were you talking about in the
so
family?
we're talking about 7 living children.
Okay, because he's your husband is one of 8. He was
Yes,
8.
he's the youngest
He's
of
the
8,
youngest of 8.
and he's the youngest of the 5 boys.
Okay,
He's the youngest of the 5 boys.
okay.
And so his eldest brother, around the same time that we were going through this, found out he had Alzheimer's. No one had ever spoken of it. And I was going, are you kidding me, guys? We have to do better.
Wow.
We have to do
So his
better.
eldest brother
Mhm.
had the disease. Had
Yep.
he passed from the disease?
No.
No, he was living with it and no
Yes.
one had said
No one
anything.
said a
Oh
word.
my heavens. What about other family members?
So right now there's maybe one other brother that has cognitive decline,
Okay.
but he's still able to drive, he's still able to do like live his life, his best
Yeah.
life. So with his wife, she and I have like paired up and I
Uh-huh.
share a lot of information with her and we talk to each other at least once or twice a month. How's it going? What are you doing? We talked about the new medications and, what are the risks? And I give my
He's aware of
opinion, she
it.
gives her
Yeah.
opinion. So we have a really good
Yeah.
dialogue. Unfortunately, his eldest brother just passed away this past September. But we decided I really wanted to go because we talked to him every
Mhm.
Sunday.
Yep.
And it was just like, "Oh, what am I going to do now?"
Yeah.
Because we could
Yep.
still have conversations,
Yep.
even though,
Yeah.
he was 88, even though he was
Okay.
88. And,
Yeah.
he was forgetful and he would
Right.
say things 2 or 3 times, but I didn't care. It was just the point I got to talk to him.
And the tricky part is because it was short episodes of conversation, it
Hmm.
was easy to miss some of those other things, I
Yes.
suspect.
Yes.
So often in my experience, people talk about the faith community as the
Yes.
place where people go for information in the
Mhm.
African American community. But
Mhm.
that is that the case for you or was that not the
It
case
was
for you?
not the case for
Uh-huh.
me. Initially, it was not the case.
Okay.
Those caregiver groups, those were my
Those were your
lifelines.
lifelines.
Once we moved here, I
Mhm.
actually found a church just from going to some different activities, like holiday activities.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my gosh, you can bring your loved one here and enjoy the service, and then they'll be okay and they'll be safe. So we have a lot to do in the African American community
Mhm.
about engaging and saying that it's okay.
Come
It's
on out.
yeah,
Don't stay at home, don't
right.
stay away.
Bring them in a wheelchair.
Mhm.
If they're having a bad day, it's okay. Bring them anyway. It's enough of us caregivers to help out. We can take turns.
Yeah. Ah.
We can take
So
turns.
building community is
Yes.
also part of what you're starting to see.
Yes.
As you look around, there's a void and it needs
Yes.
to be filled with community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So through all this, there's a sense of loss and
Yes.
loss and loss.
Mhm.
Because about the time you would typically be thinking about, all right, now we get to do what we want to do,
Yes.
was when you got hit
Mhm.
really sideways with this
Yes.
thing that took
Diagnosis.
several years to figure out. I mean,
Yeah.
it wasn't a quick process
Mm-mm.
either. Talk to me about grief.
It took a while. It took several months for me to really just grasp that this is going to have a quicker ending than I expected. And I was not ready for that. I can talk about it now because I'm learning to manage my grief. I'm learning that it's okay to cry. I'm learning it's okay to get angry. It's okay for me to scream if I want to scream. But what it's not okay is for me to stay in that place because that's a place of danger to me.
Mhm.
So I'm still working on it. It doesn't stop. But now I can talk about it.
As part of your grieving process,
Mhm.
have you found that it's important to recognize when you need space away from your husband,
Absolutely.
in order to fully grieve the loss
Yes.
of your husband,
Yes.
which is different than being his care provider, his
Right.
care partner.
Right.
And when you do that, getting away and grieving that,
Mhm.
for you, is it more an on my own thing? Is it get with somebody and talk thing? Is it get into a group and I mean, what helps your grief
I think
expression?
it's a combination of
Mhm.
things, but there are times when I can't be around people and I'm at home and I'm in the mix of it. And then I just go sit down. I tell our dog, August, it's time to take a break. Go to your crate.
Mhm.
Pop, pop, it's time to take a break. You go sit down over there, and then if I know that they're safe, like I know that he's not going to get up, I might go sit in another room for a couple of minutes just so I can decompress and so I can get a handle on myself because I know I need a timeout.
Is breathing part of your
Yes. Oh my gosh. I start my day breathing. I have my cup of coffee.
Mhm.
I turn the news on, but it's low. Our dog is at my feet, but I'm just relaxing my body and just deep breathing and not thinking about what I have to do today. What I'm thinking about is the breathing. Just take very slow breaths and exhale all the way,
Mhm.
all
Let
the
it go.
way, and then inhale all the way, fill those lungs up, and just gonna be okay. And maybe even just meditate. Just it's gonna be okay. Today's gonna be a good day. We're gonna speak on it. It's going to be a good day. So regardless of what happens, it's something for me to refer back to. What did I say this morning?
Yeah, yeah. What
What?
was good in the day? What
Yes,
was good in the day?
yes.
So as you anticipate the ending of this journey
Mm-hmm.
and know that it will end,
Yes.
um, and then you,
Mm-hmm.
more than likely,
Right.
will journey on.
Right.
If you think about that final
Mm-hmm.
release of the living this life, where is that for you right now?
It's going to be quiet so I can have a moment to process, even though I am processing as we go along the way. But I have thought about that. And for me, I need the quiet.
Mhm,
So if I go away, I'd like to take my dog with me
mhm.
because she brings me such joy. She gives the best hugs. I mean, she's like in your face, paws. She gives the best
She
hugs.
knows it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to have her with me because she is part of this journey.
Mhm.
Everybody thought I was crazy when you're getting a puppy, like really? And then I think after about 3 months, I was like, what in the world was I thinking?
There was a moment. Talk
But
about grief,
yeah,
but a different kind.
yeah. But it is just
Mhm,
being
acceptance.
quiet, being
Yeah.
still.
Have you put that into a game plan that you've shared with the family?
No, because I think I probably should because they're probably going to think I want a lot of people around me, but I really don't.
Mhm. And if you don't say it ahead of
They're
time,
not going to know.
and in their effort to be there for you, because 'cause they've
Mhm.
been here.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that opportunity to set it up as
Yes.
you need it.
Yes.
And you're not in deep grief, you're in
Right.
reflective grief.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that I won't say the deep grief is all gone, but it's much more manageable now. In the beginning, it was like, I can't do this.
Mhm.
This is not supposed to happen,
Yeah.
you know, but it is. And it's my journey, and I have a choice. So I can wallow in it or I can make the best of it. And one of the things that I've really thought about is that my husband is still here.
Mhm.
So, one of the things I shared with our caregiver group not too long ago was that if you take pictures of your loved one on your phone,
Mhm.
every so often you'll get a review the day.
Yeah.
So, let those review the days be your happy moments and the moments that you remember. So, I'm definitely keeping, and even when I see something, I'll show him and he might not understand, but I'm like, look, we were goes, da, 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 we rowed a boat, da, 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 da," and he's like, "Okay, so you say." But it brings me joy.
But it gives you that space to breathe.
Yes,
That's the
yes,
breathing. Yeah,
yes, yeah.
cool. Well, Terry, thank you, for sharing so much of yourself and your story,
Thank you,
and
Tifa.
for leaving a legacy.
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much.